We're in Nashville, and it was a rock station, KDF, and the sales staff had this brilliant idea of us doing live commercials for a dating service. I think it was Great Expectations. Does that sound right? Is that a dating service? So they were going to pay us, I don't know, we got an extra $100 a week each or something to do a live 60-second commercial every morning, and we got free membership to the dating service. So we go down there, and you got to make a videotape of yourself, and you get to look at the videos and the pictures of, well, they were the butt ugliest women you have ever seen in your life. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. We're not going out with any of these. But they hired these models to work there. So the guys would come in, and these beautiful girls are working there trying to get money out, sign you up to these contracts and everything. Well, we were okay with the models. We'd go out with them. In fact, once we signed that contract, we went down there and we joined the service, and we had 3 of their sales staff in our apartment there. 2 days later, we were called into the general manager's office, and he said, "Look, we're paying you money to endorse their product, not screw their health." Ooh, stop doing that. All right, next up, a longtime friend of Jim's and mine. In fact, when we first started the workshop, and one of the first times we went on the road with Ron, and he more or less wrote or kind of directed us in that whole mind reading bit we did. This guy was the architect of that. God bless him. How about a big hand for Ron Crick, everybody?
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't architect that. We got drunk at the Driscoll. Somehow it all worked out. Well, this is a good group. How y'all doing? This is a lot of fun for a sad occasion. I didn't feel too funny this morning. I almost called in serious, but here we are. Why do I get the feeling everybody's going to get a defensive driving certificate after this? You want your affidavit notarized? I'm a notary. Now, I've been hanging out with Jim for the last few weeks because of another pal, a comrade of ours that goes back to the workshop, Ms. Joni King. Where's Joni?
Yeah.
Over here a minute ago. Joni she used to manage the comedy workshop and knew everybody back then, and knew Jim was sick, and Joni has a defensive driving school, and actually called up Jim, invited him to lunch. This was just in the last, few months, and invited Jim to come over to the office and put stamps on postcards, work at his own pace. Bought him an easy chair. He'd sit there and put a stamp on a postcard about every 5 minutes. Basically, he came over for lunch. Basically, it was like, because she bought him lunch every day. And I showed up too, because I smelled that lunch thing. And if you are what you eat, I'm a buffet. And it turned out we're telling stories like this. I mean, we'd be sitting around the office telling stories, putting stamps on postcards, and every once in a while he'd answer the phone, and got him out of the house, and I think he had some fun there right up to the end. He was funny as shit right up to the end. And he told us a story. I asked Carl if anybody was going to tell this, but he told me a story about, this kind of goes back to Carl saying he never had a real job. Well, he came close, apparently. And you family folks might remember the Handy Andy story. Was that high school he was in? I think it was high school, one of his first jobs. And he goes over to this brand new Handy Andy store, which apparently was a grocery store. Grand opening for this store. He gets hired over there, and he punches in, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know anybody. There's people scurrying around, people fighting over meat because it's half off or whatever. And he's a kid. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. So somebody tells him, realizes he's probably a new employee, and says, "Here, go into the closet, get a mop. Somebody threw up in the ladies' room." So he goes, okay, trying to make a good impression, do the right thing. He doesn't even know where the mop is, or the closet, or the ladies' room, or anything. And he's looking for everything, and finally says, "The hell with this." So he had just punched in. He said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put up with this." And decides he's going to go to the beach. So he walks out the back door, walks around the building, gets in his car, and drives down to Galveston. And And he's down there laying on the beach all day, gets enough of sun, he drives back to Houston and realizes, geez, you know what? I'm right on time, I could punch out. Nobody would probably know. That story's so chaotic. So he went back in and punched out. And I guess overnight he figured, wait a minute, I could probably do this every day. Nobody would miss me. This is absolutely true. So he goes to the handy the next morning, walks in, punches in, walks out the back door, drives to the beach. He does this all summer. I mean, this went on all summer. Comes back, punches out, goes home, picks up his paycheck. He's getting a little nervous when he goes to get his paycheck because he thinks somebody's going to realize, who are you? Why are you picking up a paycheck? But he got away with it for months until finally I guess he walked in and there was a staff meeting or something. And he figured that somebody would probably pick up on it, so he just never went back. But he collected the whole summer of paycheck, so he almost had a job. Probably pulled a muscle punching in and punching out. True story, I didn't make it up. Jim was a funny guy. He had his mannerisms on stage, too. You know, like the mic stand, he'd always lean on the mic like this, and Bob, you have a lot. I was telling you about this. I met Bob over at the hospital last week. I've never met you before, but you have the same mannerisms as him. I mean, it's scary. You know, the Dr. Pepper, the way you put it down. Yeah, I mean, the slow motion camera, I'm not sure where it's going to go. And he'd do that, Jim would do that with his cigarettes, too. He was very deliberate, but something, you want to help him finish the task, you know? I'm just glad when Carl and Mike were up here, they were grabbing this microphone like Jim was grabbing the kidney you donated to him. He didn't want to let go. I'm glad they finally let go of it. But one of my favorite lines of Jim's was, that's kind of, I can relate to, it's one of my addictions, the line about, you know you're getting old when you listen to talk radio and tap your foot. Great fucking line. Excuse my language, I didn't mean to say great so many times. That's one of my addictions I'm trying to overcome, is talk radio and cheese. And, but to piggyback on Effie's, is it J.D. Frazier? Is that his ex-girlfriend? She had a lot of names. Is it J.D., Jeanette? I had never met her before. And I didn't realize that when I did meet her, I was working down at Corpus at the hotel down there, the Marriott, formerly the Wyndham, formerly the Hershey. Remember, every time we went back down there, they had a new name. And apparently Jeanette came over, she had parlayed a guest spot. It was me and Mark Mabry. There was only a two-act thing, they had a local MC. And Mark went up, and then I was headlining. And she went up before I went up, did a little guest spot. She was down there in Corpus selling T-shirts on the beach or something. She was doing some gig like that. Some hippie-ish kind of gig, you know? Selling that tie-dye. And she was pretty good. She did a good job. But I noticed, just like I noticed with Bob, she used a lot of Jim's mannerisms. And I didn't know they were an item. I didn't know they had been seeing each other, or, you know, more than seeing each other. And I was just picking up on that. It was like a lot of Jim Patterson up there. So she comes off stage, I do my show, and I'm introducing myself to her. And typical Crick putting his foot in his mouth, which I tend to do often. I'm talking to her, and I, again, not knowing they're a romantic item, I said, yeah, I really enjoyed your set. You got a lot of Jim Patterson in you. And her jaw just dropped. I don't know if it was his material, but it was his mannerism. I'm glad he understood that. That's all I got. But Jim was funny right up to the end, man. I mean, he was having a hard time there, you know, dialysis and everything. But every time I talked to him, he was funny, and funny most of the time I was with him. And you know, even the serious conversations had punchlines. And he got the most out of life, and God bless him. Thanks a lot.